Today I'm doing the 999 challenge. You have to eat 9 hot dogs and drink 9 beers in 9 innings of a baseball game. Many people have tried this, but nobody's ever done it while managing a baseball game. Until today, because I'm doing it. As I head down to North Carolina to do that exact thing with the Burlington Sock Pups. I might be managing the pups later tonight, but rest assured, I'll be focused on the dogs. I flew down to Charlotte and met up with some friends at a bar before driving up to my hotel at Burlington that night. At the hotel, and oh, that person is definitely naked and thinks nobody can see him, so that was, I'm not taking, yep, still naked. I woke up the next day and implemented a 3-part strategy to best prepare me for eating as many hot dogs and drinking as many beers as possible during the 999 challenge. And it's kind of funny that I did a lot of prep for that and no prep for managing the baseball club. First, I'm gonna run a lot of miles, over 7 to be exact. That will theoretically make me hungrier. It's also the peak of summer here in North Carolina, which is gonna be very difficult to run in. I just made it sound so much worse than it actually is, by the way, so that the plot will thicken. Second, I'm not gonna eat at all. And by not eating, I'm gonna wanna eat more. I would assume. And third, I watch diners, drive-ins, and dives on Food Network. Through discipline and questionable masochism, I was prepared to now head to the ballpark to make history tonight while managing the Burlington Sock Pups. I don't know what I'm more nervous for tonight. Either managing a baseball team when I've never been that great at baseball, or potentially throwing up in front of said fans. On my way there, I decided to pick up some beers at a nearby grocery store, but there were 2 things that were kind of unusual about these beers. First, these beers were non-alcoholic, and yes, for this challenge, I'm going to be consuming non-alcoholic beers. I don't feel comfortable consuming a lot of alcohol in front of a bunch of people and displaying that on YouTube. So if you want to hate me for that, go ahead, I'm sorry. And secondly, the only non-alcoholic beers at the grocery store were IPAs. I hate IPAs. This is not good. That's right. Tonight I'm going to attempt to have 9 non-alcoholic IPAs. Does anybody know non-alcoholic beer still has alcohol in it? Less than 0.5% alcohol. Whatever, I guess I'm fine, but that's wild. I got to the ballpark 3 hours before the game started because I can't read schedules, apparently. I played ping pong with Kevin, who works there, put on my uniform, and before I knew it, it was time to partake in another completely unnecessary challenge. I took out some beers and got my glizzies from the counter, and oh man, I sure couldn't wait to make these big boys disappear. Hey, yo! The first inning started, and I started drinking my beer. My strategy for today, since I absolutely despise IPAs, is I would focus on consuming them as much as possible at the beginning to help get them out of the way. And also because I've never met a hot dog I didn't like. As I was making my health insurance provider stressed out, I couldn't let the fans or anyone know I was going to be fighting for my life later today. So while drinking a beer in hand, I did a mid-game interview to tell everybody about my progress so far.
It's been your first 3 outs ever managing a baseball game. What are your thoughts so far?
I just really thought we executed a lot there. I always tell my guys, you want to score more runs than the other team, so we didn't do that inning, but that's because we're on defense. So I couldn't really tell you what was going on during the game, not because I was drunk or anything, but because I have a very short attention span. So while the boys were competing, I was deleting. After the first inning, I had deleted 2 beers and 2 hot dogs, getting myself way ahead of pace for the 8 innings remaining in the game. However, I knew ultimately I wasn't going to be able to sustain this pace. I could pretend and lie to you and say that I'm going to, but in the second inning, I realized I couldn't just focus on the 999 challenge. I had to earn the trust of the guys in the clubhouse.
Love it! Love it. That's exactly what we talked about, boys.
Otherwise, there would be a chance they'd realize I know absolutely nothing about baseball and they'd fire me and kick me out before I'd even have a chance to complete the challenge. So my content creator friend Josh, who played baseball in junior college, sent me a list of baseball terminology that I could say to help me fit in with the guys during the game.
Hey, good idea. Keep honest, you know?
Yep. I mostly was just saying a bunch of word salad and doing random baseball things to distract the Sock Pups players from what I really wanted to be doing, which was erasing glizzies and beers.
Come on, CJ.
After 2 innings, I had smoked down another beer and another hot dog, leaving me at 6 left of each. The hot dogs I had 0 trouble with. The issue was the IPAs. I thought after a while my body would get the gist of what I'm doing and get used to it, but it honestly was completely the opposite. It's no wonder IPA stands for I probably am going to die tonight. Right before the 3rd inning, the Sock Pups had a sumo wrestling match, and they said if I wanted to come back tomorrow that I could just show up without a costume on, which rude. To distract myself from how bloated I was getting, I decided to do some chirping, as the kids say.
Man's just doing cardio out there.
And yes, I am a grown-ass man talking shit to 19 and 20-year-old kids, but please don't hold any of that against me. I've been drinking. A big factor for helping me overcome this challenge today would be doing a lot of eructation. In other words,
Sorry.
burping. In many cultures, burping is extremely polite, and in baseball culture, I found that it helped me resonate more with the guys. I felt like a bro, as they would eventually tell me. And by the way, they said absolutely none of this. I'm making most of this up. I didn't know any of the kids' names, so I had to keep asking people who they were.
What's his name?
I might actually be the worst baseball manager in history. I took a break from stupid IPAs in the third inning and had one more hot dog, so my total so far, 4 hot dogs and 3 beers. I was on pace here, but I eventually had to ramp it up at some point before my brain and stomach realized what I was doing to myself and would get full. To distract myself in the 4th inning, I asked one of the other coaches,
Can I coach first base next inning?
the answer was probably no, but I didn't really listen to the answer and I just went out on my own free will anyways.
Bro, what am I doing here? Am I the first base coach? I think I. All right, let's go, kid.
Being the first base coach for an inning really helped me focus on chugging another beer that I really disliked with a burning passion, but also I was doing a complete disservice to the sock pups who needed somebody competent at first base to help them. At one point, the opposing team was chirping me, as the kids say, so I got distracted during the game and started talking to them,
I literally have no idea what you're saying.
which I don't think you're supposed to do.
We're doing the 999 challenge. Are you really? Swear, it's not an alcoholic beer though. All right, I'm 5 hot dogs in.
After 4 innings, that was 4 hot dogs and 4 beers. I am really falling behind at this point, so I decided to focus less on managing the team and more on the 999 challenge, which is honestly what I was already probably doing anyways. I did some toilet time and some burping exercises to help give me some extra real estate in my body, which helped me gear up to have a huge 5th inning, and no, not as a manager, as an eater.
Hey, you got a bat, you know.
Again, I couldn't even come close to telling you how we did as a team, but that inning I consumed 2 hot dogs and 2 beers. At this point, obviously the IPAs weren't tasting great, but even the hot dogs weren't tasting great. It's okay, because it's building character, I think, and also a tapeworm. After 5 innings, that's 6 hot dogs and 6 beers. During my 6th beer, I did an interview with one of the players as well, and I couldn't honestly tell you his name, I forgot.
Coward on first base ruined a no-hitter with a bunt. Like, it's just contraband. It should be illegal.
I was feeling like a bigger piece of shit than the guy who thought making the movie Cats was a good idea. So I decided to chirp some more 19-year-olds to displace my pain and frustration vicariously on them.
Window shopping. Hey, what's the bat for? You having to take it off your shoulder.
I did another in-game interview to help give me some credibility and stay in the dugout longer, and honestly, I thought I nailed it. I'm here so I don't get fined.
So it's scale from 1 to 10. How do you like the hot dog so far?
6.9 out of 6.9.
Really good.
Sounds good, sounds good. And
In the 6th inning, the umpire was making some pretty questionable calls, and my players were chirping the umpire, and I told them that I would eventually handle it and for them to keep quiet for right now. I ended up not handling it and being a little bitch, but that's mostly because I am a grown-ass man that is really struggling with a giant tummy ache at this point. As a result, that inning, I only consumed a hot dog, and it was at this moment for the first time, I honestly felt like there was a chance I wouldn't be able to complete this. But I had to pull through. The sock pups were losing by a couple runs at this point, and since they weren't getting it done on the field, I had to at least do my part to show them that, hey, your life could be a lot worse. It could be mine right now. That's right, this is about me right now. In the 7th, I decided to go back to focusing on deleting beers with the goal of having 2 this inning. And I tell you what, by the grace of God himself, I deleted 2 beers. Even though I hate IPAs. I'm not sure if I made it that clear. So that was 7 hot dogs and 8 beers total at this point before heading into the 8th inning. And that's when things started to get a little dicey. The umpire ended up ejecting one of our players for running into a fielder while going home. And my guys wanted me to argue that call. But I was already struggling to exist at this point, and I knew if I wasted any time arguing with the umpire, I would have virtually no time to consume the 2 hot dogs and 1 beer remaining. And even worse, I could accidentally throw up on the umpire's shoes. The easiest thing for me to do between the 2 hot dogs or 1 beer was the 2 hot dogs, because like I said before, I've never met a glizzy I didn't delete. So I focused on that, and despite it being more difficult than finding an apartment in New York City under $4,000 a month, I ended up deleting the 2 hot dogs in the 8th, which left me with the final obstacle of having my 9th and worst IPA yet. I wanted to vomit. I wanted to jump into an active volcano. I wanted to do everything other than finish this last IPA. But that's when the umpire made another questionable call and my guys were having, and they're like, you have to argue this call with him. And I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? It couldn't have happened at a worse point. But thinking about the position I was in, I was already so underqualified to be here. If I don't finish this 999 challenge, yeah, I'm gonna be bummed, but when am I ever gonna have the chance of being a baseball manager ever again? So I have to take advantage of being a baseball manager and do baseball manager shit, like yell and degrade an umpire. So finally, risking ejaculation. I can't believe I said that. Ejection. So finally, risking ejection, I finally stood up for my guys. Now, they wanted me to hurl a bunch of mean insults to the umpire, but as I got closer to him, I realized, wow, this is a human being. So that's when I was thinking to myself, how do I get out of this to where the players don't think I'm an absolute coward, but then I also don't ruin this umpire's night? I ended up asking the umpire if he could eject me.
I'm making a social media project. I'm a guest manager. I need you to eject me.
I proceeded to compliment the umpire, saying things so nice to him, it was almost insulting how kind I was.
I just think you look great. I think you've been doing a great job. You've been really nice. And I'm saying mean things to you right now, but I'm not actually.
The umpire, being a gentleman himself, took those compliments with grace and ejected me from the Burlington Sock Pups baseball game after the 8th inning.
Have a good night.
It was a win-win-win. My players didn't think I was an absolute bitch. I gave the umpire a power trip to go home to his wife to, and now I had the entire 9th inning to focus on having the most difficult IPA of all, the next one. Now, since I wasn't allowed to stay in the dugout, I decided to go to the front row behind home plate. I couldn't stomach the thought of having one more IPA, and that's when I thought about where I was and what I was doing. I was managing a baseball game with college kids. What do you do in college? You smoke beers, but how do you smoke those beers? You shotgun them. So I thought that would be a great idea to help me get down that beer as quickly as possible. I would shotgun the shit out of it. The only issue is I'm a slow shotgunner. I'm really bad at drinking beer, but sometimes it's okay to not be super fast. Am I right, fellas? Huh? And before I knew it, I finished my 9th beer and completed the 999 challenge. Hooray! Another pointless project crossed off.
Can you write my eulogy?
I got word from the Burlington Sock Pups that they had fired me immediately after the game.
I know what I like, baby.